Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining today. We have the pleasure of having Jon and Michelle here with us, who are GPs. And I had the opportunity to meet them actually a year ago before they were syndicating deals. And now after just, less than a year later, they're syndicating their deals. And I know that Jon was able to leave his W-2 job and syndicate full time. So I'm going to hand it over to Jon and Michelle to present and give us the secrets on what they're up to and how they got there.
Well, awesome. We're very happy and humbled to be here in front of you all. This is the first time we're presenting the strategy, and this is the process that we follow to get to where we are and also to get to where we want to be in the future. The name From Boxes to Buildings will, you're going to understand why it's from boxes to buildings later on. But for now, our strategy is called From Boxes to Buildings. And it's me, Jon and Michelle Reyes from DLRX Ventures, and we prepared a presentation for you all tonight that is broken down into 3 different sections. Number 1, we're going to talk about who we are, and we're going to introduce you to 2 very important people in our lives. And then we're going to go over the methodology, like the process that we took. There are 5 steps, and we have a pretty unique acronym that we coined to that term to make it easy to remember. And also, methodology and mechanics is nice, but we also have to elevate ourselves. We have the external tool of methodology, but we have our internal tools, which is the mindset and the habits. So we're also going to go over how we were able to change our mindset and habits to level up our game. So first off, introduction of who we are.
So how it all started. So Jon and I are strongly influenced by our grandmothers. That's me with my grandma. I grew up very close to her at such a young age, and she's actually was a teacher. And over time, she was able to invest into real estate, such as land and buildings and single family homes. And even then, I really admired her for taking that step, and it inspired me to be like her.
Yeah. And here is my grandmother and my grandfather. And yes, that is me with funky hair. My grandmother is really good with finances. At an early age, I saw her, everything was documented, everything was written down. She was a teacher as well. And despite that, she was able to accumulate wealth, build businesses, buy a farm. And then by watching her life, I realized that how important it is to build wealth and have cash as we grow older, because we want to maintain a good lifestyle and also cover the medical bills that's going to happen when we get old. So that's why we're here. We want to build wealth for ourselves. We'll also want to build wealth for our families, and we don't want them to worry about their medical bills when they get older. And that's why we're building wealth for ourselves, so that we can help them out. So, and this is who we are. I spent before this endeavor, I did a lot of things. I started as an engineer in the oil and gas. I always say that I spent a lot of time looking through a lens of a microscope, all the way to investing stocks for other people, right? So I went from engineer to investment management. That is the Cougar Investment Fund. I also obtained my MBA from the University of Houston in 2019. And then pass it on to Michelle.
So I have worked for UT MD Anderson Cancer Center for over 15 years now. Actually, this month is my 15th year anniversary. I took my master's degree in family nurse practitioner at Texas Women's University. And since then, I have worked for MD Anderson's Stem Cell Transplantation and Cellular Therapy Department. In the bottom 3 are our businesses. The one in the farthest left and on the right are our 2 e-commerce brand. And in the middle is our real estate business. DLR, also short for our last name, De Los Reyes, also short for dollar, and X is multiply, because our goal is to multiply our investors' money through apartment investments. And then we are also fur parents. That's Denver. He is the most gentlest and kindest dog ever. And then this is his brother. He's the total opposite of Denver.
Yeah.
All right. So for us, our last straw moment was pre-COVID, actually. It was a year before COVID when Jon and I have been really working hard with our W-2 job, Jon in his consulting job, and then me as my nurse practitioner job. And we've been working more than 40 hours a week. And,
Way more.
and that made us think, like, how do we figure out a way how to make money work for us and not us working for our money, because our money does not equate to the time that we put in, which is very valuable to us. So one strategy that we were talking was, first things first, we need to figure out how we can replace one of our W-2 income with another source of income.
And as I alluded earlier, I have experience in investment management, typically trading stocks for investors. So I had a fiduciary responsibility to them, stating that I do the best in my ability to trade stocks on their behalf. Being an engineer, I took the average stock return and plotted that out, and it was going to take us around until we were 63 years old before we can hit our financial freedom number. So I was like, this is not going to work, man. Also, stocks are heavily influenced by the market's emotion or market's mood, which is fear and greed, which are both emotions, right? And lastly, the stock market is also controlled by the hands of the few. And these are people who have power, control, and money. These are typically leaders of nations, tech billionaires, or the Fed chair, right? So like a single speech can send the market a couple of percentage down. And I remember when I was trading stocks, I quickly realized that this wasn't for me, because every time a stock moved plus or minus 5%, I have to do extensive research and send a report. And there were several reports that I had where I said, you know what, there was nothing fundamentally that happened with this company. The only thing that affected it was a tweet, right? So I realized that this was not for me. So I did a lot of research. We did a lot of research, and then we met a family friend who has been investing in multifamily. We discovered the power of multifamily syndication, and we went all in. We invested back to back to back in the Houston market. And now we have a passion for helping others and presenting an opportunity to them, saying, hey, the stock market is not the only way. You can get a step further toward your financial freedom quicker through investing in alternative assets.
So on our way to financial freedom, there's many stages of financial freedom. When you search it in Google, actually, there's many ways. Some have 7 stages of financial freedom. But to keep it simple for this presentation, we're pointing out 4 primary stages to reach your financial freedom. The first one is financial dependency. So the keyword here is rely. That means you're relying on your W-2 job for your expenses and for your lifestyle. The next one is financial security. So this one, if you don't have any employment, you're still able to survive your basic expenses. So the key word for financial security is to survive. And then the third one is financial independence. That means you're able to afford your basic expenses and to maintain your lifestyle. So the key word for independence is maintain. And then lastly, to reach financial freedom, over here, there's a fine line between financial independence and financial freedom. But the key word with financial freedom is abundance. So you're able to live the life that you dreamed of in abundance. So meaning that you're at the point or in a position that you're able to not worry about any money, and you're at the position that you're able to help your friends and family and your community, or even build generational wealth. So financial freedom does not have to happen at the age of 65. If you plan and work hard for it, that can be achieved way before age of 65, and that's what we want to attain.
All right, so now we're going to the next portion, which is the methodology. Right? So we know how we say entrepreneurs or high performers work all day, all night, and do it 24/7. So that's kind of the acronym that we came up with. It's AM, PM, and then repeat. So what does this mean? So A stands for you have to set your achievement. So basically, you want to know where you want to go. right? So this is your goal, what you want to achieve. And then next is measure. So this is where you want to go. This is where you are right now. And later on, I'm going to show you a couple of tools that we use to bridge that gap, right? So achievements, you measure your current situation. And then to bridge that gap, you have to make a plan, right? So from measure to your current state, to your achievements, you have to bridge that gap through a plan. And then M is massive action. Take note that we didn't put the word action only because AMPA, repeat, does not sound good. So we made it, we added the word massive. Also, you have to take massive action because once you have a plan, you have to go all in and commit because you're going to have challenges and you're going to have to keep on going and go through those challenges. And at the end of the day, this is a habit. You have to follow the process. It's not a one and done thing. You have to go through the process and repeat. For us, it's every quarter. We have to go through this every quarter and adjust when necessary. Okay, so now we're going to go into the details of each step, starting with A, achievements. So this is one thing, this is an example. So say, for example, these are several categories that you can, set your achievements to. So cash flow, net worth, taxes, and lifestyle. So say in 2024, we want to achieve $16,000 in cash flow from our investments. In 2027, we want to achieve 40K. Net worth, we want to multiply it by 3x and then 6x by 2027. And then by 2027, we want to pay 0 in taxes legally. I have to stress out legally. And also you have to define your lifestyle because once you set these goals, you have to ask, why do these matter to you? Right? There should be a reason why you have these numbers, because if you don't have a strong reason behind it, it's highly likely that you're not going to get there. And in our experience, it's not that when I get to this number, I'll be happy, or when I find another job, I'll be happy, or when I move to this place, I'll be happy. Happiness is actually not the goal. It is the process to get to that goal. You have to enjoy your journey towards what you want to achieve in life. Okay. And obviously, we're starting here because we have to start with the end in mind, because our brain works like that. If you set a goal, our brain finds a way to get there. And second is plan. This is a personal financial statement. Maybe a lot of you already have a personal financial statement. Second is measure. What you can't measure, you can improve. Personal financial statement is one tool that we used. For people here that don't have a template, I'd be happy to share this template with y'all. This is a sample personal financial statement. The first, it's split into two main sections. One is assets and liabilities. This section gives you your net worth. You take your assets, subtract your liabilities. It's going to yield your net worth, right? And also, here at the bottom is your cash flow. How much income am I receiving and how much am I spending? Whatever is left is what you have to invest, okay? Now, talking about cash out or the expenses, we also have to control that because we want to maximize the amount that we invest. So the tool that we use to do that is an expense tracker. There are a lot of different expense trackers there, but what we use is mint.com. It sets a budget and tells you how much you're spending for subscription, for utilities, and all that. One thing that we were able to reduce here, just as an example, is our mobile phone subscription, right? So we call T-Mobile, say, hey, T-Mobile, am I maximizing the plan that I'm paying for? The agent looked at it, say, actually, you're way less. You can step down without losing the speed that you have. So by that, we were able to spend $50, and that $50 is spent wisely investing. So these are simple things, small steps that you can take to increase the amount of investment income that you have. Okay. So again, if you need a PFS or personal financial statement, just let me know at the end, and I'll be happy to share that. Okay, so now this is where from boxes to buildings come from. This is our main idea. So first, we want to generate cash flow that will cover our expenses. This cash flow is short term. And what we chose to do was start an FBA business. An FBA business is nothing but it means fulfilled by Amazon. So what that does is essentially we send thousands of boxes or inventory to Amazon. And if a customer orders a product, Amazon takes care of all the shipping because we want this model because we only want to spend 4 to 8 hours a week to maintain a business so that we can focus on real estate. Amazon is a short-term horizon because products have product life cycle. They don't last forever. So you have to keep on launching new products. This is what we did to cover one W-2 income. And later on, we'll get more into detail about that. And then the building spark, as previously mentioned, is investing in multifamily because we have equity appreciation. We also have lower taxes, and this is a long-term play. So this is where From Boxes to Buildings came from. So we started with Amazon, and in parallel, we are also building our wealth through apartment investing. Right. So FBA or Amazon fulfillment is what we chose because that fits our skill set. But there are many, many other ways to develop alternative sources. I know people that have generated YouTube channel that are just crushing it. People that sold ebooks that are also doing very well. So there are a lot of different ways to build alternative income sources that can potentially replace your W-2 income. So being the engineer that I am, I have to have graphs here. So the bars at the bottom is basically our Amazon revenue. So this is where we are, Q3 of 2022. This is how we plan to grow our Amazon business. By end of 2025, we want to more than double that. Now, when did I leave my W-2 job? I left my W-2 job May of 2022. That's the symbol, our symbol there. So these orange buildings represent our passive income. So a passive investment. So as we're building Amazon business, we're also investing in real estate. Our first passive investment was in Q4 of 2021. And then we invested 2 more in Q1 of 2022. By that time, we were making profit, we were generating income. And then the moment we got invited to our first syndication or first active investment deal, where we're actually part of the investment team that's going to manage the property, I left my W-2 job. That was May 2nd of 2022. We put a goal of having our first active investment by December 1st of 2022 for a 60+ unit property. We got that on May 2nd of 2022 for a 600 unit property, so 10x. And I want to also tell you, pro tip here, in hindsight, I may have left my job a little too early. And let me tell you why. Once you start generating cash flow, you want to have at least a consistent amount of cash flow, or at least to a certain threshold of 6 months, right? So if I were to do it all over again, I would jump around, somewhere next year. And 6-month period is important because you cover at least 2 different seasons of the year. There are buying seasonalities within the year. So Q4 is the highest for our product, is the highest buying potential. Q1 is also good because people stay indoors because it's winter. So they spend more, they have more screen time, hence they buy more e-commerce. Spring is also good. Where it dips is the summer because people are on vacation, and at the end of Q3, kids are going back to school, so parents are busy. So you want to cover at least 2 of those buying cycles in a year. That's why the 6-month rule is applicable. Make sure that you have cash flow over a certain threshold for 6 months. Okay. And then looking ahead, this is our plan. So in 2023, we want to have 2 syndication deals, at least 2 syndication deals. In 24, we want to have 3. And then in 2025, we want to have 1 syndication deal every quarter. that is 10 apartment buildings actively invested in within a span of 5 years. So I like this quote by Tony Robbins, that most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 2 or 3 decades. I can attest that I put a goal that I will leave my job after 1 year in business. That didn't happen. It took me almost 2 years to leave my job, right? So plan for 2 years, maybe plan for 1, and then, you know, shoot for the stars. If you fall, you land on the moon, right? So one pro tip also is you have to write your goals. It's free, and it also increases your chances of success by 40%. So people here who are mentally making the plans, it may not work for you. So make sure to write your goals. It's just going to help you. Okay. So after P, we're going to go to taking massive action.
So for Jon and I, this is our journey. So we took massive action, but first and foremost, we did take a massive action in our education and in mentorship programs that helps us in our business in Amazon, as well as the multifamily. As you can see here with any businesses, there's always the ups and downs. In the top right, top left of the picture is Jon inspecting our Amazon products. We had some quality issues that we had to inspect ourselves, over 1,000 boxes at that time.
And disclaimer, the mask is not for COVID. It's because the paint on our product, it was still wet at that time. So just want to put that out there. And
then on the bottom left is not the car that we bought because of our Amazon business. It was the car that we have to sell to fund our business, because at that time, you know, we needed more money to invest for our Amazon business. And then on the top right, as you can see, we are all smiles here. You know, we've been doing really well with our Amazon business, and we were just doing spot checking before we shipped our inventory to Amazon. And then on the last picture is Denver. He's our first employee of our brand, and he's inspecting our products, making sure they're all good and ready before they ship to Amazon. And he takes treats for his salary.
Yeah, so if our quality is very good, it's because of our dog. Okay. And overall,
we had actually more than 121 product analysis. We had more than 10 prototypes, and then we had 3 failed launches for our products. We had to sell Jon's car, and it took us 1.5 years before we can see profit. But now, we know, after all the struggles, we can say that we're proud with our Amazon brand, and we have over 350 reviews of 5 stars, about 95%.
Yeah. And you know, challenges will come as you take on these endeavors. That's why you have to choose an endeavor that is aligned with your values, your goals, and has a big upside, because that's what's going to keep you going one more day at a time. Okay. Got to go all in, because I know you can do it.
And then we also took massive action with real estate. And since we found out about multifamily, we just went all in as well. Our first investment, as Jon mentioned earlier in the previous slide, was back in December of 2021. It was a Class B apartment complex located at the southeast of Houston. It was 164 units. And then we also invested passively in another apartment complex, which was a Class C category apartment of 328 units at the northwest side of Houston. And then lastly, as our passive investment for this year, we also invested at Elon at Memorial Park, which was a Class A property complex, and it had 297 units.
Yeah, and when we say passive as well, it's basically investing money with a team that's going to run the property. We're not going to be doing any active running of the property. We just receive distributions every quarter and at the sale of the property. So that's the passive investment.
And then most recently was our active partnership with the Morgan and Wilcox. It was 2 apartment complexes combined. It had a total of 624 units. It was a B- category of apartment complex, and it's actually located 8 minutes from the biggest medical center of the world. So located at Texas Medical Center.
Yeah, so prime location, massive complex, has a lot of potential, has a lot of upside. So we're very happy to be part of this team.
So we went from 0 units to close to 1,400 units in 6 months.
So why do we like apartment buildings? So apartment buildings is unique in that we're focusing on Class B and C properties where we can add value to the property. So what we do is we find properties that are renting below market. That's what happened with Morgan Wilcox. It was renting about 200 below its competitors. And then the plan is to make a massive renovation and improve the quality of the property, therefore also improving the lives of the tenants who are living there. Also, there's a ton of other income opportunities, whether it's providing covered parking, which if you're living in Texas, you're gonna want to have a covered parking, especially during the summer because it is just hot. There's also pet fees and also a high-speed internet that you can provide to tenants. That is a source of other income opportunities. And leverage is a key word that we use in apartment, not only on the finance side, but we also leverage other people's time, money, and experience because multifamily is a team sport. With our first investment, we invested with a team that we know, like, and we trust and has a track record of successfully exiting properties. We leverage their time, they're gonna run the property, and we're passive investors. We also leverage other people's money because 100+ unit apartments, they're not cheap, and not a lot of people have about $4 million to invest in one property. So what we do is we gather investors' capital, we pool together, and we split the profits and buy the property altogether. It's also a great inflation hedge against inflation. One of the reports that we recently received from Elan Memorial Park is that year over year, their rent increased by 8.5%. And that is keeping up with right at inflation, right? And also there's a big tax incentive in investing in apartment buildings. The government provides you tax incentives, a business provides a business tax incentive if they provide two things, jobs and housing. In multifamily, we provide housing, therefore, we get tax incentives for our investments. Here are common myths about investing in real estate. Number one is you need a lot of money to start. I for sure believe that because in our space in multifamily, I thought I needed $1 million or $500,000 to be a part owner of the property. And one of the 3 questions that I commonly get, by the way, when I say that we invest in multifamily properties is, so the first thing is, so you mean to say that I don't need $1 million to be a part owner of the multifamily property? I said, no. And do you mean to say that I can also use my 401k to start investing in multifamily? I said, you absolutely can. And the third question is, so since I'm a part owner, can I stay in one of the units for free? You absolutely cannot. So that is not part of the deal. So you can't stay in one of the units, right? But yeah, so to invest in multifamily, it's a fraction of what I actually thought it was, okay? And investing in real estate is risky. It's risky if you choose the wrong property, but I can tell you that it's not going to be affected by social media or tweets or anything like that. And there are also guidelines that you want to follow or certain market factors that you want to follow to invest in the right property and in the right location. Here are a couple of tables that I want to share with you all. You want to follow employment growth, you want to follow population growth, and you also want to follow where the affordability is. If you look at these metros, let's take a look at this list. Dallas, Houston, Phoenix, Miami, Tampa, Atlanta. So this is where employment is going in the next 5 years. You may want to take a screenshot of this. It's coming from Marcus and Millichap. These metros that I mentioned, these are along the Sunbelt states because these areas are more affordable, landlord friendly, and employment is just going to these states because there are tax advantages as well. So these are good places to invest in. And now let's look at population growth. Houston is in the number one spot. It is expected that we're going to have about 500,000 people moving to Houston, AKA more traffic in Houston in the next 5 years. So we are ranking number one in population growth in the next 5 years. And I found this pretty cool acronym for why real estate is an ideal investment. I think this is just all fun and games, but Houston, so real estate provides you the income, deduction or depreciation, it provides equity, provides appreciation, and you can use leverage to grow your wealth. Right. Also, another myth is timing is everything. Now, if you have a crystal ball, please text me right away because I want to know what's going to happen next year. It's like the stock market is difficult to time the market. So what we're doing is we are continuously underwriting properties, looking for deals, and we're nonstop. We're still looking for properties to acquire before the end of the year if the number works, right? So like investing in stock, you may have heard of dollar cost averaging. It's the same thing here. You just got to keep on looking for the next acquisition target. Next is managing property is too hard. Absolutely. I've heard stories of getting calls at 2 a.m. saying, hey, my toilet doesn't work, or the what do you call that? The garbage disposal of the sink doesn't work, right? Or early in the morning. Sure, in multifamily, we do something different. We actually hire property managers to manage or be boots on the ground and manage the property, so we don't get those calls. The success of an apartment heavily relies on a strong team and a strong property management team, because they're the ones that are screening the tenants, executing the business plan, making sure that the property is nice, clean, and well maintained, right? So we hire property managers for that. And real estate is a quick way to get rich. It is not. It is more a medium and long-term game. You may hear stories that you made $1 million right away. Those are few and far between. You have to make sure, and you have to look at the longer term horizon. Real estate is a medium and long-term game. Okay. And the last step, again, this is a habit, right? Every quarter, you have to repeat our AM, PM repeat, because you have to adjust, maybe set new achievements for longer term, remeasure where you are from where you were. You have to adjust your plan, take massive action again, and repeat the process. Because again, this is not a one and done thing. Motivation is what's going to get you started, and habit is what's going to keep you going, right? So this is a process. So now we talked about the methodology. We're going to talk about the mindset, because in order to level up our game, we have to change who we are as well on the inside. So I like this quote by Albert Einstein: we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So the first thing that we did is we moved daily. So exercising, you have to sweat. The key here is sweating, because when you sweat, you release endorphins. And endorphins is the feel-good hormone. It also helps you it also helps you with creativity, right? So you have to move. So we walk 40 minutes a day, walking your dogs. We also work out 5 days a week. Meditate and visualize. This is a big one for me, because meditating makes me take a step back, assess where I am, and also visualizing after meditation, visualizing achieving my goals, because our mind works in such a great way that it's going to bridge where we are to where we want to be if we continuously visualize our goals. Read or listen. One new book that I started listening to, I got the audiobook for The Power of One More by Ed Milet. I started listening to that last night. It's a fantastic book so far. And he was also a speaker in the last conference that we attended this weekend. So really successful entrepreneur. So again, it's the power of one more. Tactical. You have to plan your day, plan your week, plan your month. Again, if you're making mental plans, it may not work. So you have to write it down, right? There are a lot of great planners. What I use is the Tony Robbins rapid planning method. And that breaks down your plan by day, by week, by month, and it's super helpful. And last is, again, you have to constantly go back to it and review it. And I can tell you that we set, it is funny how you set the goal once, and sometimes I even forget to review it. And then when I look back, our actual results are so close to what we wrote down. Actually, our August numbers was 0.9% different from what we set it to be, right? Our actual revenue numbers for our Amazon was like 0.9% different from what we set for that month. So, right. So in order to level up, we have to change our habits as well. And this is our last slide. Financial freedom, or last two, financial freedom is equal to time freedom. It's also equal to generosity freedom. We want to impact three different circles in our lives. Number one, it's us. We want to impact our immediate families. And the third circle is we want to impact our community. We love traveling. We want to travel the world. There's so much to experience in the world, right? We want to experience the beauty of it. We want to impact our immediate families. These are our families. And again, we want to build wealth for them so they don't have to worry about money when they get old. And we also take care of ourselves, right? And three is communities. A community, say the top right picture is an apartment that we invested in. We want to make sure that we provide a good living space to the tenant, because if we take care of them, they also take care of the property indirectly. We also want to make sure that we provide our investors with, good returns and a good return for their money. And the picture on the bottom right is the Philippines. We both grew up in the Philippines, and it's our purpose in life to go back to help out that country, because there's a lot of poverty in the Philippines, and we want to impact that as well and make a positive difference. So bottom line is, we want to create margin for ourselves to do the things that we love with the people that we love. Okay. We are very blessed to be in this position, and blessings are meant to be shared. And with that, I finish it with a quote from Emmett Smith. People rarely succeed on their own. You'll meet people who help you along the way. Don't forget to share your success with them, because success is a blessing and blessings are meant to be shared. This is by Emmett Smith, Hall of Fame, three-time NFL Super Bowl champ, who I met a couple weeks ago. So along the way, we met a lot of people, Leah and Carmina, who introduced us to multifamily, our partners, Joel and Lizanne, our friends, Win and Hong, and many other friends that we met along the way that we're blessed to be, partnered with them in one way or the other. So with that, I finish the presentation. This is our, if you want to send us an email, it's impact@dlrxventures.com. And you can also visit our website, dlrx.us. So with that, I open for questions.
Do you have to be an accredited investor to syndicate apartment buildings?
Good question. There are two different offerings. One is called 506B, where you can have both sophisticated and accredited investors. For a 506B offering, we can have up to 35 sophisticated investors in one deal. So it's capped. And then the accredited, we can have, as many numbers as the SEC allows, but we're capped. So if you're sophisticated, or if someone's sophisticated, you want to look for the 506B. 506C are purely accredited investors. And most of our offerings are 506B so far.
I have a question in terms of Amazon FBA, and then I know, on the internet, a lot of people are drop shipping, you can make lots of money. Why did you not continue to, build multiple different companies on Amazon, exploit it? It seems like you were doing that simultaneously with building your real estate empire. So why, free shift your focus to real estate?
We have two, actually. So we have the FBA model, where we actually design our own products so we can dictate the price range and the margin. And we're also opening up a new Amazon store this month, hopefully, if not November. It's called Online Arbitrage, where we look for products from other sources and sell on Amazon. And these are products that already have reviews. So we capitalize on that, price difference from one marketplace to the other. So, but yeah, so to your point, we are building two e-commerce stores. Yeah.
And sorry, just to follow up on that question, do you believe it's a, I don't want to say distraction, but it does take some time to, like, for someone who's starting off and they want to quit their W-2, but they need, cash flow. And they are thinking, well, should I do Amazon FBA so I can have monthly cash flow, or should I do real estate syndications where I won't see money for a year or so? Like, how would you, balance the two different schools of thoughts here?
We took a different step in that we had to find that cash flow source. So one of us can quit our jobs and accelerate, just go full speed on syndication. Because if we do a W-2 job and do syndication at the same time, it may take longer, right? Because I'm spending 60 hours a week, at least in my W-2 job. With Amazon, we spend 4 to 8 hours per week now, right? So we got to that level where, we get 4 to 8 hours a week, and it's the same as my W-2 income. So I can dedicate everything else to real estate. Now, I'll be honest in that in the beginning, it was tough, right? It took about 1.5 years. That's why we said you have to pick an endeavor that is going to be aligned with your values, because you're going to face some challenges.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question for the Amazon FBA.
Yeah.
Running the numbers one time, I noticed that the fees are pretty high. They can take up like close to what, 70-80% of the whole thing. How do you balance like is it going to be a home run where you can cover the fees, or how does that work, the math?
Oh, so good question as well. We actually designed our product from the ground up. So
White labeling?
Screw the tools, because we're going to build our own. And the reason why we're building our own, it's a unique product. We're the only ones in the market, and we can dictate that pricing. So right now, breaking it down, it's 30% goes to raw material, 30% goes to Amazon fees, and then 40% gross profit goes to us.
Oh, that's pretty healthy.
Yeah,
That's pretty healthy.
yeah. So you have to choose your own products.
Is it white labeling or just straight from scratch manufacturer? Kind of.
I drew it on a piece of napkin at first.
Oh, okay. Not even white label it.
Sorry. No, we build it from the ground up.
Respect.
Yeah, thank you. I also have a few questions here, Christina, that I compiled. A few questions that we received. Do you ever think about going back to your W-2 job? All right, so that's one of the things that that was asked. And if I start planning for plan B, right, having a backup plan or having an out if this doesn't work, our success rate for our plan A drastically decreases. So right now we're focusing on this one full time. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I know it will, because it's aligned with our goals, aligned with our values, and there's a big upside. So we're going to chase after it. Choosing Amazon FBA, I mentioned that already. And how much do we need to start investing in apartments? So that's one of the most common questions. As I alluded to earlier, you don't need $500,000. So when we started, we used our 401k, a previous employer's 401k, to start investing in apartment buildings. And that investment was $50,000 from our 401k to a self-directed IRA. And then from there, we invested in a multifamily asset. And then the other one is, are there any tax incentives? Definitely in multifamily there is. There's a thing called bonus depreciation, where you can have up to 100% of your investment amount offset by any losses that you create from multifamily. So if you want to look it up more, it's called bonus depreciation. But essentially, you can offset 100%, up to 100% of your investment in 2022. And then it's going to start stepping down by 20% until it goes away in 2026. So just look up bonus depreciation. That's a huge tax incentive for investing in multifamily. And one of the last things is, how is rising interest rate affecting the property? So in a multifamily deal, you get cash distributed in two different ways. One is your cash on cash return, which is the cash that you receive on a quarterly basis. Cash on cash, if the rising interest rates, and then the other one is the equity appreciation after you sell the property, your capital gain after you sell the property. Your cash on cash is deeply affected by interest rates because instead of going back to investors, you're paying a higher interest expense, right? That's why as multifamily owners and operators, you have to buy that insurance to cap that insurance rate so it doesn't go above that rate, right? It's called a rate cap, which we buy for an expensive amount, but it's all worth it to ensure that it doesn't exceed that interest rate. But your cash distribution on a quarterly basis is affected, but it's still good for long-term gain. You can still easily double your capital, your investment amount after you sell the property. So those are the common questions that we get. If there's anyone else, I'd be happy to answer them.
In terms of investing your 401k, can you talk a little bit about that? I know that's a very uncommon way of finding money you didn't know you had that you can invest. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, gladly. When we found out that, so our first investment was right in the middle of growing our Amazon business. So we didn't have a lot of cash to invest. So upon talking to our friends, they said, you can use an old employer's 401k. So a 401k from a previous employer. So it's like, oh, I didn't know that. So the process takes about 2 to 3 weeks. You have to convert your 401k funds into a cash account mine was Fidelity, within Fidelity. And from there, a different bank, I use Quest Trust Company. Again, it's Quest Trust Company. Quest pulled that cash from Fidelity, put it in their account. It's called a self-directed IRA. So you can invest in multifamily using a self-directed IRA, and no, you're not going to get penalized, and no, you're not going to get taxed either. Right? You're going to get, if it's traditional, you're going to get taxed at the end. But if it's a Roth IRA, it's pre-taxed money, right? So your money's going to grow tax-free.
But John, this is Greg. How are you doing tonight?
Good,
Hi,
sir.
Greg.
Thank you. Hi, Greg. Julie. Hi.
So in your IRA in your fund creation for your initial one, that the profits go back into your self-directed IRA, so that you can't put that money in your wallet until you're 65.
No.
Yeah, because we had the same problem. That's why we created another LLC.
Correct.
And we're still trying to navigate those waters.
Correct. And one tip that we got, Greg, not too long ago is there is a traditional to Roth conversion, right? So you can convert your traditional IRA so your money can grow, tax-free for now. And you take that by steps, right? 5%, you convert 5% of the amount of traditional to Roth, and you take a little bit of hit, every time you convert. But the goal is to eventually move everything to a Roth self-directed IRA, so you don't get taxed when you withdraw it at the end.
Okay. Good to see you guys.
Yeah,
Hey,
good to see you.
Jon and Michelle. I have a question. So you mentioned that you first started investing in apartment as an LP with people who you like, trust, and have a proven track record. So track record, can you give concrete examples of those 4 points, and how you of course, try to avoid not losing your money, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And definitely that's super important. And the way we look at it, Kathy, right?
Yes, thank you. Yes, Kathy.
Yeah, so Kathy, so this is how we look. So we get a lot of deals, And then we don't even look at the deals, no matter how attractive it is. We first look at the team. And we invested with people that we met through networking events. We've, scheduled a one-to-one or had coffee with or met over lunch.
And that we have developed
We
relationships
have
with.
developed relationships with, because after you invest, it's like a 5-year, relationship, right? Because you hold a multifamily for 3 to 5 years. You want to make sure that when you ask your sponsor, the person that you invested with, they're going to respond back to you in a timely manner. And we ask a lot of people in the community. That's why we have to be plugged in the community and ask, hey, how is this GP? How is this GP? And so on and so forth. With regards to track record, you can ask what are their previous properties that they invested in, and at exit, how far were the targets versus the actual, right? So typically the returns are anywhere from 80 to 120%, and see where the returns are. And sometimes you can even ask for, bank statements. We've asked for bank statements and they freely gave it to us. Hey, this is what happened, so on and so forth. But you have to look at the exit. How was the property ran, right? So, and then compare that to their initial forecast. And the big thing is networking. We network a lot. We go to a lot of meetups and to meet these teams. And that's how we started.
Thank you. Do you meet with them like multiple times? Because one of the things, not that I'm concerned about, but I just feel like taking too much of their time, right? Like, because to develop the relationship, not just over one coffee chat.
Yeah. This is for us. We want to develop real, authentic relationships with our investors, because eventually we want, on every deal, we want them to be with us and co-invest, and we want to develop, we want to earn their trust. So whenever they call, no matter what time it is, I'll pick up, I'll answer the questions, right? So that's us. And that's how we treat our Amazon business. That's how we treat our investors with multifamily as well. We build our relationships. And we get a lot of comments on Amazon saying, I am surprised at how quickly you got back to me. I never got this service from any Amazon suppliers before. And for that, we get 5 stars. It's all about building authentic and real relationships with our investors and our team.
And I can speak firsthand that that's how we met, is we just keep meeting all the time.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Any remaining questions from the audience? If not, then Jon and Michelle, any parting words?
Well, first of all, thanks for having us. This is a privilege and also really a big responsibility to share our story. This is the first time we're sharing our boxes to buildings strategy. I hope that you guys have picked up a few things that you can take action on. And things are possible. A lot of things are possible, and most of the time, the things that stop us is ourselves, right? So we have to go beyond that. Got to keep on pushing. There's a lot of things possible, and the world is ours for the taking.
Awesome. Thank you, Jon and Michelle, for your presentation. I think we got a lot of comments. I just want to read them all out, and you definitely deserve the recognition. Thank you. Looking forward to chatting with you soon. Great presentation, Jon, Michelle. Thanks for sharing, and thank you. So thank you again. This was one of the best presentations, and sharing your story very aspirational. So thank you, Michelle and Jon.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Hopefully we get to meet everyone.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.